Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Saturday knowledge sharing webinar organized by Mehta and Mehta. We are now starting webinar series on topic SEBI LODR regulation 2015. Friends, because this LODR is keep on changing and we should know the learning and unlearning, and everyone is confused. So these are like starting fresh as a student. We all are student learning every day. With this intention, we have started this masterclass on SEBI LODR, governing principles and common obligations of listed entities. Today's our panelist is Ms. Shraddha, and she is a company secretary and compliance officer of KSB Limited. We have with us Ms. Ashwini Inamdar, our senior partner, Mehta and Mehta, and Mr. Balakrishnan, Professor Balakrishnan, with as usual with us, our knowledge, bhandar of knowledge. Yeah, thanks. And let me introduce formally to our panelist, Ms. Shraddha. So, Ms. Shraddha is a member of ICSI and is a part of ICSI subcommittee at Pune chapter. She is double graduate in commerce and law from Pune University. She has experience of over 12 years in secretarial and corporate governance domain. Presently, she is a company secretary and compliance officer at KSB Limited, which headquartered at Germany and among top 400 listed companies in India. She has been awarded as a best trainer, exemplary level A award, and several other awards and certification for key projects at KSB Limited. Wonderful, Shraddha. And our other panelist, myself, of course, I am Dipti Mehta. We have with us our treasurer of this webinar, Professor Balakrishnan, who is a company secretary and having almost 4 decades of experience. And he has worked with Foseco India Limited and regular speaker at not only ICICI, CCGRT, I think various other forums. And he keeps on contributing to various articles to the various magazines. Ms. Ashwini Inamdar, which is a senior partner of Mehta and Mehta, is a fellow member of ICSI, having mastered in law. She is in practice since 2012 and has overall experience of 10 years. She specializes in listing companies of the stock exchange, corporate restructuring, and matter relating to LODR, takeover, and Companies Act. And she has good experience in areas of secretarial audit and FEMA as well. So welcome everyone. I'll request Ms. Shraddha to say a few words on the topic, then Mr. Bala and Ashwini on the topic, and then our presenter, Suman, can start our presentation. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful introduction. Welcome all. I really have sincere thankful towards Mehta and Mehta team. They have arranged this wonderful series on a most critical topic nowadays, that is SEBI LODR. Every now and then we are getting updates, and it's making our life a little difficult to cope with these changes. So I'm glad to share whatever practical difficulties we are facing in day-to-day life and the solutions, practical solutions we are implementing in our companies. So yeah, this session, as they have arranged, is a two-way session. So I am waiting for a lot of two-way, to and fro discussions in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bala?
Good morning to all of you. It is my great pleasure to welcome you every Saturday on the knowledge sharing session organized by Mehta and Mehta. And the LODR, when we are talking about it, because most of the younger generation will know the LODR is 2015, but in 2015 it was replaced the SOIL listing agreement, which was there with the stock exchanges much earlier. And we used to call it those days the various sections. Now it is a regulation. That's a difference. But Basically, the SEBI, when it was incorporated, it started with the prime objective of investors' protection. And it also said it is a small investors' protection. That is where it started. But after the so many scams which have taken place, the development which has taken place across the world, etc., slowly, the things have started expanding. And today, when we talk about the LBDR, basically it moves around the better disclosure, better transparency, and better corporate governance coupled with the investor protection. And another thing is there, the LODR also talks many things. There's n number of things which is a company is required to comply with, right from code of conduct, the ethics of the business policy, having a visual mechanism in place, having a risk management policy in place, even disclosure of the various policies, materiality, all other things it runs around. And not only that, as 50 has said initially, the LODR amendment for the last 3 years, which has come, much more amendment which have come than in the last 15 years. Especially in the last 2 years, the amendments every alternative month, there have been amendments and amendments and amendments. In Mehta had conducted n number of amendments, the recent one being on Regulation 30 and Regulation 31, especially. So many things which are there, that is number one. Number two is, as per the KSB company is concerned, I know the KSB company being a Pune person. In fact, they are situated at the Bombay-Pune road at the Chinchwad. I have been seeing this company right from 1960 onwards, actually. In fact, I happened to visit this company also much earlier. I enjoyed their excellent canteen stuff, actually. I especially used to go to the canteen to have the vada pav in the evening, which is very popular and tasty. That was my experience with the KSB. And one thing is that today's our panelist Shraddha comes with the experience of, which she will of course share with you, is she is working in a company which is following a calendar year for their accounting.
Yes.
And whereas we are all talking of financial year. Now, between the calendar year and financial year, there are n number of problems and n number of conflicts, n number of disputes, n number of clarification which are required. Because whenever the regulation comes, it says effective from the first day of the financial year.
Yes.
Then the questions comes immediately. The calendar year is being a financial year. The financial year already started for a company like KSB, where I also happen to work in a company where it was following the calendar year only. So what happens, since our year is already started on 1st of January, the question actually comes to the mind whether it is applicable for us in that particular year or not. In most cases, it is not so, because it is starting with the financial year commencing from 1st of April. What happens, the advantage is there for the calendar year company. The current year, it is not applicable. It applies only in the next year. Because our year starts after the 1st April. So our year is only next to 1st January is our year starting after the 1st April. That is the advantage which is there. But sometimes that is not the case so. Especially a particular regulation comes to the picture, etc. And all things. I had a serious problem when segment reporting was introduced, actually.
Yes.
So that particular time, we'll have to run around and other thing and all. That time they said it is applicable to you, whatever it is. That is what has happened. We were not prepared. And it has had a marathon effort for us to get the extension from the stock exchanges. Because I was working in a time when we were listed, when the regional stock exchanges were functioning. You may be knowing, because all the regional the concept has gone up now. Today, it is only a nationwide trading terminals. Earlier, otherwise, our company, which was listed in a Pune Stock Exchange, Calcutta Stock Exchange, Madras Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, NSE. When we go to BSE, they'll ask, what happened to your regional stock exchange? Have they got your permission? Plus, get the permission from us and come to us. When we go to the NSE, what is the BSE saying? All the things were there. It was a marathon efforts, and even today the things are not much different. I think Shraddha will be definitely having a practical experience on this aspect between the financial year, the calendar year, the financial year, clarification, etc. and other thing and all. And it is really good that she is there today, so that she will share some of her experiences specifically as we go along with that. That is one thing. And another thing is there, not only that, now they have started with what you call structural database, with the result, what is the storage, what is the security, what is the preservation, what should be preserved, what should be archived, all these policies which are being in the place, things are really becoming not only for the company secretaries who are in the employment, but also for the certifying people as well. In the recent past, if some of you may be aware, left and right, the ROCs have been scrutinizing the various details of the companies, and they are taking the many issues. In fact, there are recent cases, there have been people not only in the company, and especially they are holding responsibility of the company secretaries as a compliance officer. Left and right company secretaries are severely penalized. When we come to the penalties, please remember, no company is going to reimburse your penalty levied by the MCA. It has to be paid by the own pocket of the company secretary and his personal account. The order is very, very clear. To that extent, we are all running a risk. So more we will have to take the responsibility, more we will have to be, diligent and in performing a thing, understanding the regulation, application of the regulation, interpretation of the regulation, effective date of the regulation, timeliness of the reservation. These are all the must. Having all this in mind, Mehta has taken a good initiative to starting with the master class LODR regulation, which we are going to discuss all the chapters the next 2 months or something like that, which will run around 8 to 10 webinars weekly. We'll be running it. And today we are specifically taking over the first 2 chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2. That is what Suman is actually going to take us. So with these words, I end up here. I request Ashwini to share her thoughts on this. Over to Ashwini, please.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. So basically, starting a masterclass or series on SEBI LODR, the main intention of Mehta and Mehta is we always give a perspective from the firm, that is the practical background. So whenever we have a panelist, it is always from the corporate secretarial who can give a perspective from the corporate background as well. And having these kind of interactions always help the panelists, always help the people attending the seminars to understand what is the perspective from a firm background as well as a corporate background. And we can club in and people can have and interact and give their own opinions and thoughts. The intention is everybody knows SEBI LODR, there is no two doubts about it, but the interaction makes it more dynamic. People try to understand what is the intention of the regulator also. And the intention here is to educate all the participants in addition to our perspective as well as the corporate side perspective. So I think there's going to be a 4-5 sessions on SEBI LODR, and I request you to attend. And thank you. Over to you, Suman.
Thanks, Ashwini. Rightly mentioned that what we want, that different perspective to the same static law by different people. We will invite interactive session. Everyone is requested to participate. Please put your query, questions, suggestions, answers in chat box. If time permits, we will allow you to speak also, but at the end of the session. You can, Shraddha, you can ask, talk in between as and when you want to add. Okay?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's start.
Dipti, although India-Pakistan match is there, we are already on number 100.
Yeah.
You can see the enthusiasm of the people who are towards the interest of the topic.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, let's start the presentation, please.
Yes, Suman, you can share your screen.
To get regular updates about our weekly knowledge-sharing webinars, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for notifications. Also like and share our videos.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, very much, very much.
Yes.
Okay. So, this is the master class on governing principles, disclosure, and common obligations. So, today we will basically discuss about the SEBI listing obligation and disclosure requirements. So, these regulations came to consolidate and streamline the process of existing listing agreements. Just a second. Okay. So this provision came to consolidate and streamline the provisions of existing listing agreements of different segments in the capital market. To streamline all this, SEBI listing obligation and disclosure requirements 2015 came into existence on 2nd September 2015, and which is effective from the 90th day from the date of notification, that is from 1st December 2015. So in short, SEBI has revamped the existing listing agreements entered into with different segments of the securities under one common regulation. So the basic objective of this is to align the Companies Act and the SEBI LODR regulations 2015. But in short, we can say SEBI law is more stringent than the Companies Act. Second is to consolidate the laws specified under different regulations for different segments of securities in one single resolution.
One thing is there, Suman.
Yes, sir.
We cannot simply say that, LODR regulation is more stringent than the Companies Act, because these two different regulations are actually acting by virtue of one is on the Companies Act, where the companies are actually incorporated in the Companies Act. Other is acting just because we have gone to the capital market, we entered the separate contractual agreement with the listing. As you rightly say, the listing agreement on the Companies Act, although they tried to harmonize, there has always been, I've been seeing it for the last so many years, there is always been a disharmonization. They are trying to harmonize, but even today there are certain issues which are not actually harmonized, where you get the leverage in the Companies Act, where you don't get the leverage in the SEBI. But however, since these two regulations being as different things, we need to comply both actually. That is the thing. So whatever happens is, suppose the Companies Act, you say you can comply within 6 months. In the SEBI say you have to comply within 120 days, especially coming to the regulations appointment of the director and company secretary, KMPs, etc. We have to go by the SEBI for the listed companies, whereas the other companies have the leverage. So that is the thing. There is no comparison. This is more, that is more, which has to comply. That I think we should avoid talking. That's the thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to add here, when this COVID thing came up somewhere in March 2020, our company was in the process of arranging AGM, issuing annual report notice. And after the COVID came up, MCA immediately came up out with the circular that you can hold virtual AV AGM. However, SEBI had not come up then. So literally till 30-40 days before the last date of AGM, we had to go to BSE and NSE every day that you please issue the circular, otherwise we'll not be able to hold. Because SEBI till then was not allowing to hold VC AGM, but MCA had allowed. So as you rightly said, sir, complying both is must, but then the harmonization is still not up to the mark. Yes,
no, that has been a problem for a long time,
yes,
which I have been witnessing during the period of about 20 years of my company secretary. Even today, that is being witnessed.
Yes,
because some or other, it is a fact, two regulators never agree for the same thing. Right. That is the issue. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Suman.
Just a second, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So there are 12 chapters in SEBI listing regulations. We will just quickly go to all the chapters. Chapter 1 is about preliminary. Chapter 2 is principle governing disclosures and obligations of listed entities. Chapter 3 is about common obligation of listed entities. Chapter 4 is about obligation of a listed entity which has listed its specified securities and non-convertible debt securities. Chapter 5 is about obligations of the listed entity which has listed its non-convertible securities. Chapter 6 is about obligations of the listed entity which has listed its specified security and either non-convertible debt securities or non-convertible redeemable preference shares or both. Chapter 6A is about framework for voluntary delisting of non-convertible debt securities or non-convertible redeemable preference shares and obligation of the listed entity on such delisting. Chapter 7 is about obligation of listed entity which has listed its Indian depository receipt. Chapter 8 is about obligation of the listed entities which has listed its securitarized debt instruments. Chapter 8A is about obligation of the listed entity which has listed its security receipts. Chapter 9 is about obligation of listed entity which has listed its mutual funds. Chapter 9A is about obligation of social enterprises. Chapter 10 is about duties and obligations of the recognized stock exchanges. Chapter 11 is about procedure for action in case of default. Chapter 11A is about power to relax strict enforcement of the regulations. And Chapter 12 is miscellaneous. These all chapters are linked to a schedules. So there are 11 schedules in the listing regulations. So Schedule 1 is about terms of securities. Schedule 2 is about corporate governance. So Schedule 2 has 5 parts in it. Part A is about minimum information to be placed before the board. Part B is about compliance certificate which is provided by the CEO and CFO for financial statements. Part C is about role of audit committee and review of information by the audit committee. Part D is about role of committees other than the audit committee, including nomination and remuneration committee, stakeholder relationship committee, and risk management committee. Part E is about discretionary requirements. So Schedule 3, there are 5 parts in Schedule 3. Part A is about disclosure of events or information of specified securities. Then Part B is about disclosure of information having bearing on the performance or operation of the listed entity and or price sensitive information for non-convertible securities. Part C is about disclosure of material events or information for Indian depository receipts. Part D is about disclosure of information having bearing on performance or operation of the listed entity or price sensitive information for securitarized debt instruments. Part E is about disclosure of material events or information for security receipts. So next is Schedule 5. Schedule 4. Schedule 4, there are 2 parts in it. Part A is about disclosure in financial results and Part B is about disclosure in financial results for Indian depository receipts. So next is Schedule 5, which is annual report. Schedule 6 is manner of dealing with unclaimed shares. Schedule 7 is about transfer and transmission of securities. Schedule 8 is omitted. Previously, it was manner of reviewing Form B accompanying annual audited results. Schedule 9 is about amendment to other regulations. Schedule 10 is about list of SEBI circulars which stand rescinded. And Schedule 11 is fees in respect of draft scheme of arrangement. So today we will discuss about Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. Chapter 2 is about principle governing disclosure and obligations of listed entity. And Chapter 3 is about common obligations of the listed entity. So the listed entity should abide by all its obligations, whatever is specified in the regulations, in accordance with the principles specified by the board time to time. So while presenting financial statement, the accounting standard should be duly followed, and also it should be followed in a letter and spirit. That means we have to obey the law following the literal meaning of what is written and where whatever the intention behind the law and what has been said or how it should be enforced. Similarly, we have to understand what is the intention of the law and for whose benefit these are made and how it is to be enforced, considering all the interest of the stakeholders. Also, the financial statement should be annually audited by an independent, competent, and qualified auditor.
especially when you are talking to the accounting standards. Accounting standards are actually brought out by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which is notified by the Government of India, which is mandatory for all the companies actually, because now it is actually a IND AS which has been actually notified. Of course, in some of the segment of the company, there is a AS still applicable, but by and large, it is actually IND AS which is applicable. As Suman puts it correctly, the perspective need to be understood. Because the thing is, accounting standards per se, it actually talks about what are the requirements, how to deal with the things, what are the various disclosure are required. But action arising out of that is talked about the Companies Act. So really speaking, in the Companies Act, there may be certain action which will be arising from the accounting standards. But while in the financial statement, especially in the notes to accounts, etc., the disclosure requirement will be definitely there as per the accounting standard. I think to that extent, it should be understood very clearly. And the company secretaries be some other, normally averse to the accounting part of it. We think it is the responsibility of the chief financial officer of the company. But remember that we are actually one of the signing party in the balance sheet of the financial statements of the company. We need to keep in touch with, because from the compliance point of view, ultimately, we are the people who are actually ensuring the compliances which are applicable in under all the laws as per the Companies Act, and more so in respect of the securities as per the LODR regulations. Yeah. Shraddha, anything you want to add on this?
Absolutely right, sir. So practically, how do you handle it in a company? You will have to have regular meetings with your accounting team, with your CFO, because you are ultimately signing it as a CS. You are equally sharing the responsibility. So keep in touch for quarterly results. You should be discussing the results thoroughly with your accounts team, because in the board meeting, if any query comes up, it's only either CFO or yourself who will be answering to those queries pertaining to results. Even if NSE or BSE comes to any queries to you, to your company, the accounts team may say to you that you have not earlier told us that this is the change in format, or this is how you have to give to or submit it to the SEBI. So you will have to keep yourself updated with all the formats, updates, as well as the numbers that go in the results, because as you rightly Suman and sir said, we are the ultimately signing signatories to it. Yes, sir.
And not only that, to share with you, nowadays the video conferencing and other things are all happening for the AGM. We used to have earlier, even experience of many of you also will be there, the physical meeting. When our company has gone for the listing, the first annual general meeting, we had almost about more than 500 people who attended the first meeting. And we had to find out a venue. We actually conducted in a Pune club at Pune, which has a larger place to conduct the meeting. And thereafter also, we have been witnessing there's quite a good number of people who are attending the meeting, some 350, 400, 450, like that. What we used to do is actually, as Shraddha puts it, I spent a good number of time with the chief financial officer of the company and their accounting team. Especially at the annual general meeting, we used to prepare a booklet called AGM folder, where we talk about each and every schedule, figure, what is appearing, what is it consisting, because we do not know what sort of the question will be expected when the accounts are being adopted. Because our company is a new company which has come up for the count for the first time in the listing, and it has started doing very well at that time. N number of questions have been asked actually in the initial at least 5-6 AGMs. We used to spend almost about 1 hour in answering the question answers only. So from that perspective, I used to prepare this. Not only that, I used to have the senior people of the accounts team who are present in the second row of the AGM. They will be readily available if there are any differences, difficulties, etc. And all these things. We used to have the informal meeting within our company with the chairman of the company, because normally the chairman is the one who is answering to the queries with the aid of it. This was the work we used to do actually. So definitely, as Shraddha puts it, the company secretary has to get involved. The company secretary has to have the periodical meeting with the accounting team and understand the things. And we are also equally responsible as a compliance officer. Yep.
Yes. And also at multiple regulations, SEBI says that format given as per Companies Act, Schedule 3. So we are then ultimately required to interpret that what is Schedule 3, what accounts team has to show in the annual report or in financial. So the team comes back to us only, that's yes, that you interpret Schedule 3, we'll put the details into it. So again, it comes to us. We have to check the formats. We have to keep ourselves updated and involved with the finance management team. Yes, Suman.
Yes, Suman.
Next is misrepresentation. So the listed entity should ensure that whatever information is disseminated to the stock exchange should not be misleading or biased, so that any investor can act on that information and can any wrong information is provided, then the investor can definitely purchase the shares or something like that. So this all things should not be done while providing any information in the publicly.
Yes. So this, as you rightly said, Suman, is directly linked to your share market rating or share market price. So misrepresentation, it could be direct, indirect. In any case, SEBI will not forgive you. They will immediately, in 24 or 48 hours, you get a query letter from BSE or NSE that you have published this. Is it a rumor or is it a fact? Or please clarify. You will have to respond, and that response will be also publicly made. Immediately, that impacts your share market performance. That share market performance is also linked to your credit rating, to your ESG rating, and other aspects. So your one misrepresentation leads us like 360-degree impact on your company. So whatever you publish to SEBI, it has to be double, triply checked thoroughly with the department who is giving you the fact. Because there could be various intimations we give under technical aspects or maybe from financial aspects. So every department head should also be assigned responsibility that whenever you are giving any information to be published, it has to be clarified or authenticated by that HOD also. So you safeguard yourself, because we as CS are not required to know the technicalities of the company, but we are at times required to publish that, okay, the company has received a big order in this is a positive publicity. We want to publish, but the fact should be thoroughly checked. Yes, Suman.
Not only that, now when you talk about Shraddha, earlier, if there is any rumor, etc., and other thing and all, when it is actually checked back, the company used to say that, we have no comment on that and other thing and all, they can get along. Now, if you see the recent regulation on the rumors, which has very categorically brought out the very stringent regulations, the company cannot do any such things. They have to respond. Either they have to confirm, or they have to deny, or they have to give the clarification. Of course, there are some time limit has been given for the implementation, but once it is coming, really, as you rightly say, the coordination with the people, getting the things, fact check, everything is going to be a marathon task actually. Company secretaries are going to be definitely walking on the tightrope on this.
Yes. I'd like to add a recent example. The typical query letter we get from BSE NSE is that there is a substantial increase in volume of shares traded by your company or share price. So to this request, one of the companies has repeatedly reverted that we have not hidden any information, we are not misrepresenting anything. Ultimately, in year 3 this year, the company reverted that to BSE NSE that you please check at your end, is your mechanism perfect? Is there any leakage at your end? This guts are shown by a company. Maybe after this session, I can give the names if the persons are the viewers are interested to know the company. But yes, companies are now putting that thing on BSE NSE also, that we as company, as equity listed companies are perfect. Is there any leakage or mechanism flaws in your system? So they are showing these guts now.
In fact, Gitanjali has actually shared, SEBI recently asked the premier poly firm reason for the increase in the volume and the price in the recent past. Premier poly firm replied that they do not know, and further asked SEBI to investigate and provide them with the reasons for the same.
Correct. That's the company.
Yeah. I think you are referring the same company, correct?
Yes, sir. That's the company. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, go ahead, Suman.
So how the information is to be disseminated to the exchange is specified here. So whatever information we are providing should be accurate and timely. Whatever time bound are specified in the regulations of the this SEBI regulations should be duly followed. The information should be adequate enough so that the investor could know the current status of the company, and it should be accurate and clear and presented in a simple language so that a layman can also understand, and also the document should be in a readable manner. So also the investor can have the access of the information in a cost efficient manner.
Yes. So if we have to practically understand these words like adequate, accurate, explicit, timely, yes, theoretically it's easy to learn, but when we implement it, how do you ensure that the disclosure is adequate? Very first thing, check the format prescribed by the SEBI in the regulations, in the circulars, and also refer to the precedents. Is any other company disclosing the similar information? Refer to them. Have they got any BSc NSC query after the publishing that information? So that way adequacy you can check. Explicit is generally the companies follow that minimum disclosure. Whatever is asked, bare minimum utna hi de do. Also, SEBI is interested to know only that thing. So don't flood the information. Only what is minimum bare required explicitly give that. Accuracy, again, the respective department, you have to assign this responsibility. If it is coming from financial team, HOD has to ensure that the information is accurate. If it is coming from marketing team, HOD has to ensure that the information given is accurate. That way you ensure the accuracy. Timely. I'd like to give one example here. So we know that the fright that we have is ki what if I'm not able to upload my results in 30 minutes after my board meeting? That's the timeline we live up to. So in past, our company faced this issue. Our board meeting was not in the company premises. It was being held at a different place where we had no control over connectivity, scanning, and uploading speed. And I uploaded the results 30 minutes and 15 seconds. Now we were, what will happen now? SEBI did not forgive us. Immediately in 24 hours, we got an advisory that you have delayed the results uploading by 1 minute. So the seconds are treated as 1 minute. So we then also discussed with BSc NSC that it was beyond the control of the company how to do it. So you have no leeway, no escape. You are delayed, you are delayed. But then companies, the SEBI said that it's not a non-compliance. One advisory is okay. In case of second or third advisory, company may be treated as non-compliance. So yes, every information that you put up is nowadays auto-linked to the timings that you are uploading. Yes, sir.
Not only that, but I don't know now because I am little bit not in the current time. But in our time, when we used to have the results publications, either quarterly result publication or even the annual result publication, etc., the information, those days, it used to be transferred either by the mail or by the fax or whatever it was there at that particular time. So what we used to do is when the schedule is there, suppose the meeting started at 10 o'clock, the item of discussion of approval of the limited review or financial statements will come somewhere around 11:30 or something. After that, we have some more items which are actually scheduled. And as soon as the approval takes place in the board meeting, we used to take a comfort break or tea break or something like that. During that time, I used to come out, I used to release all these things immediately. Then we continue the meeting. And then we used to get the meeting closed after that. By the time it gets actually done, that is what we were doing it. Initially, it was working well. Now I do not know what is the current practice, because although when you say the 30 minutes of the time, to avoid that, is what we were doing actually at that particular time.
Yeah. So it is now another thing is if you are having VC, the time is recorded. when you close the meeting, and then 30 minutes timeline starts. So being a very transparent company, we do not make any other practices, honestly. So we follow that 30 minutes timeline. And so there we face this problem that 30 minutes and 15 seconds makes your company as non-timely compliance.
Any other experience from the participants on this? Can we hear? Anybody similar experience or any such thing you would like to share, participants?
I think you can proceed.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
The listed entity shall abide by all the provisions of the laws applicable to them, including the securities laws and any other laws. Also, the notification, circulars, guidelines, master circulars, whatever issued by the SEBI, BSE or NSE should be followed thoroughly.
There is a Magesh has actually said, even the delay of the 15-second stock exchange charge fines in accounts of delay. Is that so, Shraddha? They charge the fines also?
No, because it was the very first maiden instance for the company. In those days, BSE and NSE allowed us that it will be treated just as an advisory. There was no fine. But again, to come to your fine example, in those days, I was the only person who was handling company secretary matters. So unfortunately, I was hospitalized and there was a delay of 1 day for submitting notice of board meeting. We have to follow that 7 days thing. So then SEBI charged us fine of 10,000. That no, nothing doing. You cannot give us any excuse that there is no person or there was urgency of the matter, medical reasons. So yes, for the results, for 15 seconds, we were given an advisory. They said maybe if there is an instance of second advisory, you will be charged and it will be a non-compliance. So that instance, they allowed us.
Magesh says here, we have received the mail that they will charge fine. That's what the information. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can connect separately, Mr. Mahesh, to understand your case. Because when we discussed with BSE, NSE, we put forth the facts, what had happened actually, and then they allowed us. Maybe in all these years, it had never happened. You can check back if there was any other instance in your company for any such delay, because they clearly told us from second instance, there will be charges and fines.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Any first instance, normally a leniency is there. If it is repeatedly, it happens or something like that, they take seriously. That is what it is seen also. That was my experience also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Suman.
The listed entity, while disseminating any information in the stock exchange, should be abide by the law and should be followed in a letter and spirit, so that the investor can keep a track on the performance of the company and also should know about the current status of the company. So even the information is annually, quarterly or half yearly, the information should contain all the relevant and adequate information.
Yes. Again, specified. So when the SEBI says that we will, as company secretaries, have to follow the laws, circulars, amendments. Classic example, recent quarter example. As we know, this quarterly SDD certificate is discontinued with the circular in March, stating that if the company is applicable with 24A regulation, that is the certificate from PCS, the company can or shall discontinue the quarterly SDD certificate. That is structural digital database certificate. So the circular is applicable equally to all the companies. We, as a conservative basis, filed this certificate in June quarter. So from September quarter, we discontinued that. And then immediately we got a notice from SEBI, BSE and NSE that you have not filed this certificate. So we wrote back to BSE and NSE that as per your circular, we are not filing this SDD quarterly certificate because we are not we are having this 24A regulation applicability. we also wrote to them that there is no written communication from BSE, NSE or circular for different companies who are having different year-end other than March. So BSE, NSE understood that they have not given anything in writing to other than March year-end companies, that they have to continue till their year ends. The spirit of the law is that the shareholders should continue to get the information till their 24A regulation certificate is issued. Say in our case, that is December 23. But because this circular is applicable equal till March 23, we discontinue. But then BSNSC again, because it was at their fault, they did not take it as a non-compliance. But still, they made us to have a full audit, full investigation of the system and a certificate from PCS to regulate this non-compliance, though company was not non-compliance. So it is our responsibility to follow the regulations amendments, but then there are some flaws by BSE, NSE also at times.
But unfortunately, you cannot question them. You have to simply follow. That
Yes,
is the
sir,
issue.
we have to follow.
Yeah.
Yes,
That is the issue.
yes.
We have here again, there is another sharing is there. We have received the mail and they charge fine. If SDD applicable on debt listed company also, which is not the high debt company.
Debt listed company, I will have to check since we do not have any date listed. But you can also correct me. This is equally applicable to date listed companies as well.
Yeah, it is. It is applicable for the
Yes.
debt listed company
Yes.
also. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Suman.
Next is the rights of shareholders. So shareholders have the right to participate in and they should be sufficiently informed about the corporate fundamental changes, like changes in board composition or financial statements, disclosure. This all information should be known to them. Next is opportunity to participate effectively and vote in general shareholder meeting. So they have the right to participate and vote in the general meeting. Even the shareholder is holding 1 share or the 10 share, the rights aligned to them would in same class of series would be same. Next is being informed of the rules, including voting procedures that govern general shareholders meeting. So shareholders should be informed about proper instructions about how the voting is to be done in the general meetings or the postal ballots, and the specific instructions should be provided to them in the notices itself.
Yes. So as you rightly made out a point that even a shareholder with 1 shareholder, he has equal rights. So in our case, for us nowadays, because the regulations are favoring more and more for the minority shareholders and protection of their rights, for a single vote from 1 shareholder is more important than our promoters, because in some resolutions, promoters are not able to vote because they are maybe related party or interested party. So yes, as companies, shareholders have started making, from past they are making, but now since they have this support of regulations also, they have started making their voice clearly. They want participation in many rights. We get, whenever we propose appointment of directors, we get queries that share the profile of that director, what is the skills of that director, what he will be paid remuneration as. So you have to give the information, you cannot deny. So yes, this theory in itself is now very much practical. Corporate governance, we get a lot of queries before AGM, during AGM, that how are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Then interpretation of financial statements, many queries. Interim also, we get AGM minutes ke copies, so shareholders ka list. So whatever is allowed by the law, you have to give them in time, share them. Otherwise, the grievances, because now SEBI says that to the satisfaction of the shareholders, you have to resolve their queries. So how will you define it? That is not yet clear, that to the satisfaction of shareholders ka matlab kya hai. So you have to attend to all the queries, protect their rights as company secretaries. Parallelly, as promoters, versus these small shareholders. Promoters are more interested in business. So unka bhi interest you have to protect. So we have to be a very good balance between these two and protect both rights.
There are actually nuisance creating shareholders
Yes.
Deliberately who causes the problem for ulterior reasons.
Yes.
Anyway, that subject I won't discuss here because that is to be tackled separately.
Correct, sir. Correct, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
leaving that aside, yes, we need to actually address all the grievances. We need to resolve. We need to do that. Yeah.
Yes, but our experiences, as you rightly said, there are nuisance creators who demand the things that to vote, please send us this thing. We do not entertain such request because SEBI has clearly told that there should be no favors given to shareholders for attending AGM or like that. So no benefits passed on directly or indirectly to the shareholders. But then for us, it is very difficult to protect the number of votes that we want to have. So that's a balance that as company secretaries we need to have. In olden days, what I know is show of hands was the process of voting. So till the time SEBI was allowing, there were lunch arranged, there were gifts given to the shareholders, and then the quorum was ensured, voting was ensured. But with the VC coming in, all these practices are changing. So that is becoming a task for us to ensure quorum, to ensure number of votes required. I think Bala sir can throw in more light on this.
Shraddha, there were companies who deliberately used to have their registered office in a remote place like Ratnagiri. And what they do is they used to have their employee shareholders and virtually about minimum quorum people, the employee, they are actually picked up by helicopter to the remote place, transferred.
God.
All the resolutions are actually passed. There have been instances like that in the past. That is also
Yes.
there.
Yes, yes.
But I have come across when we are talking about this nuisance creation and all the things, I will say there were some organizations they wanted to get the donation and other things and all the things. Although we being a company today, the CSR there, but much before the CSR, we have been doing a lot of things in and around the place we were actually situated because our company was situated at the place called the Saraswati.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
taken a lot of village development. We are aiding to the schools. We are preparing for the drinking water facility for them and other thing and all. Even we have made a road those days for those people, taking care of things. These are all we were doing it. One of the shareholders being a NGO, he wanted to get the thing. What he has done, we had an intercompany. We are actually, I was working with the Pulsico India Limited. The parent company was actually a part of, Castrol Group. What he has done is there was transaction between Castrol company and our company. What the gentleman has done, he has actually asked the Castrol to provide the extract of the copies of the contracts in which the directors are interested.
Yeah.
After obtaining that copy, counterpart, he checked up at our end, the same register, to see whether both the transactions are actually recorded at our end. The ulterior motive is to find out if it is not there, they can demand something like that.
Yeah.
So that is one. But we are being a law-abiding company and other thing and all, he could not find out anything. Then finally he came up saying, I'm running a NGO, why don't you donate from me? I will do this, I will do that. Our managing director or chairman, they told very categorically, we are believing ourselves in doing it directly, not indirectly. So it's okay, thank you very much. That is what it has happened actually. So there are people, they do this sort of a thing, as you rightly say, here when you ask for the extra the copy of the director's contract in which they are interested, we cannot refuse to give.
Yeah.
We have to give, but the only thing is we have to ensure compliance. If you are non-compliant, yes, he can take advantage. This is either this way or that way. That is the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Suman.
Yeah, Mr. Bala, we have to keep in mind today's match.
Yeah.
So we have to complete today as per our timeline. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So next is shareholders have the right to ask specific questions relating to whatever agenda is placed before the general meeting. They also have the right to nominate directors on the board composition, provided all the applicable rules and regulations are being followed. Also, they have the ownership rights. Next is there should be adequate mechanism to redress the grievances of the shareholders. Like we have got the scores platform or the ODR platform, or the shareholder can directly lodge their complaints with the company also, or the BSE NSE.
Yeah. So one very important thing is you should have a good rapport and connect with your RTA. RTA supports us a lot in resolving various queries of shareholders. And if any share, because our mobile numbers are also available on BSE and NSE exchange, if any shareholder is querying you on WhatsApp message, you put every communication on email. Strict note from our side. We have faced problems because of direct calls by the shareholders. Put your RTA for every request, for every complaint that is coming to you directly. Never ever directly handle any complaint if you have appointed RTA. So yes, your RTA, you should be monthly visiting to check what are the pending complaints. Sometimes because they are also overloaded, the complaints get delayed, and ultimately company is responsible, though you have appointed an RTA. So RTA plays a crucial role in this shareholders protection of rights. Yes, Suman.
Next is timely information. The listed entity shall provide adequate and timely information to all the shareholders. So the information provided in the notices of the general meeting should be full regarding their location and time, date of the meeting. Also, the resolution should be specified properly regarding disclosures of each and everything. Next is capital structures and arrangement. So the ownership of the shareholder should be known. The information should be presented in such a way that the shareholder can identify their equity ownership in the company. Then next is right attached to all series and class of shares shall be disclosed to the investors before they acquire shares. So before acquiring any shares, the investor should be known about their rights being attached to that series of security.
Yes, Suman, you can continue.
Next is equitable treatment. So as we have specified, even if the shareholder is holding 1 share or 10 share, the treatment should be equal for all the shareholders. So same class of series should be treated equally, and they have the right to nominate a director on the board composition, provided all the laws are being followed.
Yes. So equitable treatment, till 2 years back, there was no amendment made in the SEBI that if you are holding any interim or quarterly investors meet, what should be published. So now this is regularized, but till then, the companies were holding one-on-one institutional meets and giving a specified sort of information only to them, which was not available in the public or to other shareholders. So SEBI observed this, and then these regulations are brought in. But as far as possible, avoid one-on-one meetings with investors, institutional investors or analysts. Put them through quarterly meets or a general VC wherein all can log in. So this saves you from any challenge from shareholder that you have shared particular sort of information only with one group of shareholders and not with others. If you happen to hold it, abide by all the regulations that you have to release the AV recording, transcript, etc. Unfortunately, if you still share some sort of information with analysts, because they sometimes also send you queries on email and you respond to them, mind it, you have to give this responses to the SEBI, to stock exchanges, that this information has been shared with, because you're putting it on email. So that becomes a valid proof, because these analysts take up that information and release some reports without our knowledge. So you may not also know that the same response that you have written to them, they have picked it up and published somewhere. So then you come into the risk. So equitable treatment, whenever you are sharing any information with one class of shareholders, ensure you are either publicizing it or putting it on your website and following all the regulations in this respect.
So even if the shareholders is a minority shareholder or the controlling shareholder or foreign shareholder, all the shareholder should be treated equally. So also a framework should be designed for avoiding insider trading and abusing dealing in the securities of the company. So the process and procedures for general shareholder meeting shall also allow for equitable treatment of the shareholders.
Yes, you can continue.
Next is the role of stakeholders in the corporate governance. So, uh, the listed entity shall respect the right of the shareholders that are established by law and mutual agreements. So they have the right to ask or lodge their complaints, and necessary redressal shall be done within the timeline specified without violating any of their provisions and their rights attached to specified class of security. Also, the shareholder shall have access to relevant and sufficient and reliable information on time-to-time basis, which enable them to know the current position of the company. An effective vigil mechanism or whistleblower policy should also be there, which enable the stakeholders so that they can freely disseminate about the illegal or unethical practices, which has directly access to the chairman of the audit committee.
Yes, so this whistleblower, if you will see, generally the SEBI talks about mainly the investors, but whistleblower is a forum where your other employees can also be a part of. They can use this whistleblower against you eh, under this regulation. So surely all the listed companies are following it, but it has to be practically followed. In coming days, whistleblower is going to play a crucial role because of the digitalization coming into picture, the frauds, the data leakage policies are going to play a big role. So you should be geared up for this. Whistleblower policy should be properly implemented at all the locations, at all the factories. It should consider your employees having access to emails. It should consider your employees, workmen who do not have access to email. How will they register their grievances or their considerations into this whistleblower mechanism? So that implementation at CS, you have to make it proper.
Yes, some of the companies I understand they also provided something like, a toll-free number through which you
Yes.
can actually lodge a complaint, etc., and other things and all,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is actually disseminated
Yes,
to the
sir.
company on a periodical basis.
Yes.
Yeah.
So toll-free number, again, whenever any oral communication, verbal communication comes, you have, as CS, you have no control over. So as far as possible, you can try and put it into writing. If the interpretation of that call is available, then that is, and any call recordings also may support you in future. So if you're implementing toll-free number, ensure that the recordings are
Yeah,
available at
recording
all
is
the
done.
time.
Generally, the recording
Yes,
is done,
sir.
and then the information
Correct.
is actually disseminated and put into
Correct.
things. That is what it is
Correct.
being done in many companies. Yeah.
Correct, sir. Correct.
Go ahead, Suman.
Next is disclosure and transparency. So whatever information is disseminated to the stock exchange regarding financial statements, so the applicable accounting standard should be followed for financial and non-financial disclosure specified therein. So the information provided should be timely and cost efficient so that the shareholders could access the same. Also, the minutes of the meeting shall be maintained, and also the recording of the dissenting opinion should also be recorded therein. Next is the responsibilities of the board of directors. whatever transaction is being entered into between the company and any other party, the interest of the directors and the key managerial person or the senior management persons should be specifically disclosed, and also whether the transaction is directly or indirectly affecting financial or otherwise any with the listed entity.
Yes. So as CS, the very first aspect is that you should be able to make good awareness with all the directors. Generally, nowadays, independent directors are well aware of their responsibilities, where to disclose the interest, from whom the disclosure should come. But the non-executive directors or foreign directors, they may not be aware that what point of time they have to declare the interest, whether it's once in a year or every time the meeting happens. So you should set a mechanism that every director is well aware of their interest, percentage of shareholding, or any other mode of interest. Otherwise, you will be in a problem. RPT is again a very critical point nowadays. Even your internal auditor plays a big role here. Internal audit, if they are auditing your RPT transactions, this one point will be surely checked whether the interested directors are making timely disclosures. So as CS, do not fear or afraid to make them aware. Keep them sending emails that, sir, this will be the transaction discussed. Your interest will be this percentage or to this extent. You will not be able to participate in the discussions, or you will not be participate to vote. So you should be making those disclosures fearlessly. Otherwise, as CS, you may come into problem.
Okay. Also, the board of directors and senior management, whatever information they are disseminating to the stock exchange, that should be transparent, fair enough to know the shareholders about the adequate information which should be known to be them. Also, the confidential information should be maintained in order to make a good culture and good decision making for the organization.
In fact, in this respect, much earlier, maybe as back as 1998 to 99 only, when there was no mandated requirements was there, in our company, we actually formulated the policy, dissemination of the information to the marketplace. Who are the people who can actually interact? Who are the people who can disseminate? Who are the people who are authorized, who are not? What is the thing? What sort of the thing? That's how the policy framework we have actually put in place. Because this particular thing which has actually happened, because we have gone for the massive restructuring organization, somewhere some loose talk taken place by result of that, some research analysis published some information arising out of that. We have done that in the long back. I think every company will be also having their own policy like that today on this particular matter, especially. Yeah.
Next is the key functions of the board of directors of the listed entity. So, first is whatever plans or the corporate strategy or the budget, annual budget plans, capex plans, anything is whatever decision is made in the board of directors. So proper implementation and monitoring of the plan should be done in proper intervals, so that the current performance of the company and the current status of all those plans and strategies should be known and informed properly. So next is the board of directors has the right and power to select, compensate, and monitor. And whenever necessary, they have the right to replace key managerial persons of the company. The remuneration of the key managerial person and board of directors should link to their longer term interest of the listed entity, but at the same time, that should be justifiable. So there should,
Okay, from my side, yeah.
There should be a transparent nomination process in the board of directors, including male and female members in the composition. So the whatever decisions is made in the board of directors in their meeting, they should ensure that there is no misuse of any corporate asset or abuse in the related party transaction.
So generally, during these board discussions, there are two sets of directors. One who is interested in core business, one who is interested in other matters. Like there are few companies who spend hours and minutes discussion of previous meeting, while there are some companies who spend most of the time in business discussion. So as CS, you should be able to balance how discussions can be pre-discussed, pre-decided before the meetings. That okay, minutes you can circulate in advance, approach every director if they have any comments, get in writing, or in meeting you can simply disclose that we have received no comments. For business discussions, you can send because agenda is very descriptive. It contains a lot of information. As CS, you should be able to optimize director's time for the business decision making. So you can send a short executive summary for every business. That really helps. And that gives a confidence to the board that their rights as directors are also being protected. Because as CS, you are taking care of every aspect in a board meeting. Discussions, RPT matters, interest disclosure, optimizing the meetings time. So the director in a company is able to fully execute his rights and obligations, responsibilities with the help of CS. So we play a very crucial role here to support the board. So other than theory, these are some my practical points that I'm sharing with you, which really help us.
Absolutely, you are right, Shraddha. You are actually nothing but, you are a charioteer to the board of directors.
Yes, sir.
Nothing else. You drive everything.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But of course, chairman keeps the ultimate right. If you put lot of initiative from your side, chairman's ego may get hurt. So you have to balance that point
No,
also.
that is right. But you have to work along with the
Yes.
chairman. That is the thing. The
Correct.
understanding between the chairman and the managing is a very crucial.
Yes, 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 sir.
Yeah. Go ahead, Suman.
Okay. The board has to monitor the process of whatever disclosure and communications are being made in the public. Also, there should be proper evaluation process so that the board can decide to whom the board wants to continue as a director or whom the board wants to remove the same. The evaluation framework should be properly made.
Some problem we see in the slide.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Yeah, now it is fine.
So these are the other responsibilities of the board of directors. I will just quickly go through it. So they have to provide the strategic guidance and also they have the capacity to step back to their executive members so that they can see proper implementation of the same is being followed or not. So next is they set up a corporate culture for their executives so that they should be known how they have to perform or behave for that particular function. They should be fully informed about all the decision makings and with due diligence and care, so taking into the interest of the stakeholders and the listed entity. Next is proper directors training is to be there, is to be conducted. So they should be kept up to date of the laws and latest circulars, notification or whatever things are being issued by the SEBI. Also, there is a familiarization program for independent directors, so they should be up to date of all the things.
Shraddha, how do you update actually your directors on the latest amendment development which are taking place between one board meeting to the other board meeting?
Yes. So I ensure that any amendment, not just SEBI, but which is applicable to company, I circulate a short memo executive summary to all the directors. Every quarterly board meeting, we keep a session on updation of knowledge for the business, other than business, which will help our directors. Sometimes we also arrange their factory visits, so they get a hint of what actually goes on the floor. I make them calls that said so if there is an amendment, I call them up, of course, taking their time, that said, this is the amendment, this will be applicable to it, we will be discussing in the meeting. Would you like to have any comments, queries beforehand, so that we are prepared, they are updated. We also offer them, if there are any programs arranged at various big forums, so we invite them or we arrange for those sessions for them. So we as company face this challenge only for non-executive directors. Independent directors are generally aware of the happenings around because they are also IDs on other boards. So they pick up the knowledge from their segments also. So competition, market, technology, inside the information of the company, factory and sales related, branding of the company, IT. These are the main points which CS should focus that your director is well aware pertaining to your company. How to do it? Arrange seminars, arrange personal calls with them, arrange meetings with them, a group meeting, of course. Send them invitations of various sessions arranged at various forums. And also, if possible, have meetings at your various plants, so they get to see your all plants at all locations. This is how we ensure. Generally, in practice, the companies do the same. But if you have any additional inputs, I would also like to know it from the participants, if they can suggest us further.
In fact, when I was working as a company secretary, what I used to do is every board meeting,
Yes,
one day
sir.
prior, we have the
Yeah.
pre-dinner meeting.
Yes.
In
Yes.
that pre-dinner meeting, what I do is I used to give a small presentation to all the board members.
Correct.
What are the developments which have actually taken place from the last board meeting to this board meeting, in respect of,
Yeah.
as you rightly say, all the applicable laws. Then
Yeah.
I used to actually summarize what
Yeah.
is our preparedness when the
Yeah.
law actually comes, when it is implemented, because law is normally it is coming in the discussion paper and then draft thing, and then implementation date is actually notified. So I
Yeah.
asked to tell them what is our preparedness, and if we are not prepared enough, what are the things we required to be done, which department is required to be done, what are the
Yeah.
approval required from the management, what are the approval required from the shareholder, how do we go
Yeah.
about it, and all these things I used to
Yeah.
give it to them an idea. Then
Correct.
accordingly we take it forward.
Yes.
And
So
not only that, in some of the issues, especially those days, left and right, there were a lot of accounting standards have been issued from accounting standard 11 to accounting standard 33. So
yeah.
what I used to do is I used to call an expert in the field and
Hmm.
call for the small meeting of the directors, and I used to
Yes.
call this expert. I tell them, you please
Yeah.
summarize what are the things, etc., so that they know what is that. And we get the help, even if it is required, external help to prepare ourselves to implement the things when it comes. That is what I used to do. Yeah.
Correct. So generally, companies have, in our case at least, a whole day meeting. It's not just one board meeting or audit committee meeting. We have all the meetings in a day back to back. We also call, so that is the main forum where we update all the directors. We call representatives from our respective department. We call our internal auditors, which are also mandatory. So they also come up with new amendments, new applicabilities. And as you said, from last meeting, what has happened? So we have this action points taken report. So whatever updates we discussed in last meeting, we summarize, we take the report that these are the actions and further updates, and then we circulate to the board. And we also at times have pre-meetings with the chairman of that respective committee, so that the chairman is well aware that what will be discussed. Also, we circulate that same to all, but then discussions with your chairman in advance to the meetings help to have meetings controlled discussions to arrive at the decision, timely decision in the meeting. So pre-meetings, as you said, yes, dinner parties at times we have pre-dinner meetings, but also some core pre-discussion meetings also we arrange, sir. So that facilitates.
So somebody is asking,
Yeah.
if as a CS we found some discrimination in the figure of balance sheet, then
Yeah.
what is the right of CS? How to protect us? I don't know.
the
It is very difficult to answer this particular question because when you are taking discrimination, because the financial statements is prepared and there is always a tally there between the trial balance and other thing, and again it is independently audited by the independent auditor, and again figures are tallied by them, and ultimately it's coming. But I do not know because he is putting some discrepancy in the figure of the balance sheet. I really do not know what exactly is this.
Yeah, so I assume two scenario. One,
Yeah.
before signing the balance sheet, then you have absolute full right to go back to your accounts team, to auditors, and get it thoroughly checked and reconfirmed. If it is already signed and then you find the discrimination and you are 100% sure about it, you can always go back to your finance team, your auditors, and there is this provision available wherein you can recast your balance sheet and publish it again. That is a complex procedure. It will be a bad name for the auditors because it's already signed and audited. But if extreme point you want a recourse, this is available in SEBI. But scenario where you are finding it is important before signing or after signing.
Reopening of the balance sheet is actually
Very complex
and difficult and
yeah,
complex
yeah.
process actually.
Correct, sir. Correct.
He says difference is the right word, not discrimination. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so the process remains same. Any change?
Yeah, that is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Suman.
So whatever transactions is entered into by the board of directors, even if the decision is affecting a major shareholder or the minor shareholder, they should be all treated fairly. Next is they have to maintain high ethical standards and independent judgment on the board should be made.
Yeah, move on.
There should be sufficient number of executive and non-executive directors in the board composition so that independent judgment can be made and no conflict of interest should be there in it. Any unjustifiable decision should not be made so that it leads the listed entity to any excessive risk. The board of directors should have the ability to step back to their executives to guide them or to lead them the way for their challenging opportunities so that the key functions of the entity should be attained. Whatever committees of the board of directors are established, their proper composition, their working procedures, their terms and reference, everything should be complied accordingly.
So just one small remark I'd like to make here. Have a practice of having committee meeting practically. Generally listed companies do not follow paper meeting practice, but if at all in your company that is being followed, please shift to having even a 10 minutes meeting is okay on the day of your formal board meeting. But that gives a sense of responsibility to the directors and you are also safeguarded that there's no paper meeting. It may take time to start this practice, but please shift from the paper meetings to formal meetings. It could start with 10 minutes meeting. Yes, ma'am.
The board of directors should be able to should be committed to their responsibilities and shall have adequate information so that they can make informed and good decisions. Also, they should facilitate the independent directors so that they can perform their functions collectively in the board and also in the committee positions. So here it ends chapter 2 of the SEBI listing regulations. Now we are moving ahead for chapter 3, that is common obligation of the listed entity. So, Regulation 5 deals about general obligation of the compliances. So, whatever obligations or the functions allocated to a particular director or the key managerial person, they should be abide by their functions, and they should be responsible for their functions, whatever they have been assigned.
So this is again a responsibility of CS, because when they say that any other person dealing with the listed entity should know, so how will he or she know? So that's your responsibility, that in your company you generate proper awareness, have quarterly sessions, 6 monthly sessions on Companies Act, SEBI, other applicable law, circulate do's and don'ts from time to time to your all employees. That will generate a culture of compliance. Take help of your legal team, involve them. Of course, a common software is now available in companies. But apart from that, you please circulate do's and don'ts, good applications for compliance. That will help you generate culture in the company.
Regulation 6 talks about compliance officer. So, a listed entity shall appoint a qualified company secretary as the compliance officer of the company. If there is any vacancy in the compliance officer, that should be filled at the earliest, but not later than 3 months from the date of such vacancy. In case the listed entity is filling the vacancy as in intermittent capacity, then the person who is being appointed as the compliance officer should possess all the requisite qualifications that are being specified for him to be appointed as the compliance officer. So here are the duties and responsibilities of the compliance officer. So compliance officers have to follow all the applicable rules, regulations, notifications, circulars, guidelines, everything in letter and spirit. They have to inform the board about each and every update about these regulations and whatever is specified by SEBI from time to time. They have to ensure that correct procedures have been followed or not while providing any information. Also, they are responsible for redressing the grievances of the shareholders, either through directly or through the RTA.
So here our role is crucial, of course. What you have to do is you should be able to convince your management that we are value additors to your company. Because again, management is busy in business. They don't want your compliance burden. That's a fact. But if you are able to tell them that smooth compliance helps your good image, good rating, good credibility in the market, then they are convinced, and then they allow you to enter into day-to-day activities of the company to have your impact. So try and generate that. Create your value in your organization as CS. That really helps us. Yes, Suman.
Regulation 7 is about share transfer agent. The listed entity shall appoint a share transfer agent, or the entity can directly manage the share transfer facility in-house. But if the listed entity is maintaining in-house share transfer facility, and if the number of shareholders exceeds 1 lakh, then the listed entity has to either register with the board as a category 2 share transfer agent, or either they have to appoint a registrar to an issue or share transfer agent.
Again, share transfer agent, even if applied, ultimate responsibility remains with the company. So try and involve in every recommendation that you get from RTA, study it thoroughly and only then approve. And never entertain any exemption request from shareholder. As CS, you must be getting lot of exemption request, waiver request from shareholder. Please do not entertain. You put up that SEBI does not allow it, so we will not give it. Because if you at all you make a precedent, then you will get such many requests, and then you are at stake. So always ensure you have written recommendation from your RTA, you thoroughly check it, and do not entertain any waiver or exemption request from shareholders.
The entity has to ensure that all the share transfer facility has been maintained either in-house or through the RTA. The entity has also to submit a compliance certificate to the exchange. That certificate is to be signed by the compliance officer of the listed entity and the authorized representative of the RTA. And that certificate has to be submitted within 30 days from the end of the financial year. Okay. In case there is a new appointment in a share transfer agent, so the listing entity shall enter into a tripart agreement between the existing share transfer agent, the new share transfer agent, and the listed entity.
If you are changing your RTA, ensure that every data that you get from RTA is right. In our company, what had happened, of course, I was not a CS then, they changed the RTA, and from old RTA to new RTA, when the data came, our shares are in the range of 34 crores. So our range, share numbers range had gone to 50 crore when there is no 50 crore share number. So ensure, and then that exercise took us years to reconcile it and get it streamlined and aligned. So ensure any change in RTA is a big activity, have a full plan and strategy, and only go for it. Yes, Suman.
If the listed entity is maintaining in-house share transfer facility, then in case the RTA is changed, then the agreement should be entered between the listed entity and the new share transfer agent. The entity has to intimate to the stock exchange within 7 working days of the appointment of new share transfer agent. Also, that should be placed in the next subsequent board meeting of the company. And these provisions are not applicable to the units issued by mutual funds. They have separate chapters specified for them.
And when you change your RTA, ensure that in AGM you get approved the place of keeping these records, because the records generally move with these shareholders. So companies may miss at time to pass this resolution. So ensure that it's in place.
Very valid point, very valid point. Yeah.
Regulation 8 is about cooperation with intermediaries registered with the board. So who all intermediaries are registered with the board, like credit rating agencies, registrar to an issue or share transfer agent, or the debenture trustees. All the proper and adequate information should be provided to them, because the entity has to deal with them on day-to-day basis. Regulation 9 talks about the preservation of documents. So listed entity should have a policy for preservation of documents, which is to be approved by the board of directors. The policy should be classified into 2 categories. First, the documents which should be prepared for permanently in the company, and second, documents which shall be preserved for not less than 8 years after the completion of the relevant transaction. Also, this preservation can be maintained in electronic mode.
So I can say half the companies just prepare this policy and post on the website as a tick mark. But if you actually go and implement this policy, you will have to involve every HOD in your department, because document is throughout the organization. Every team, every department has these documents. Have policies of retaining hard copies as well as soft copies. Soft copies, howsoever your organization is prepared, in coming future, it will be attacked. Cyber attack is next generation because of the digitization coming in. How will you safeguard your data? There has to be a robust mechanism of backup. Have it in place. Our company had in past suffered this. Backup issues may get created. So it's not just a policy, but it's a big risk mitigation policy for us. So because our data is permanent in physical as well as in electronic format. So as CS, as custodian, you will have to protect this and extend it to all other departments. So again, this gives you a forum where you go and discuss with all the departments how to protect the data in e-format, is in hard copy format. So it's just not a tick box, but it's a big task in itself to have this policy in place. Yes, Suman.
Regulation 10 is about filing of information. So whatever information, documents, statements, reports, whatever things we are submitting to the stock exchange should comply by the law and also in the format and manner specified by the board from time to time.
One practical difficulty I'd like to just say, filing of information, timely information. So you have to upload results. You get OTP from BSc and NSC. You get email as well as mobile OTP. Now for a tenure in our company, when we step outside the premises, email was disabled for some IT securities. So only OTP resource for me was my mobile phone. So just at the time of leaving for the board meeting, my display gone. My phone's display was gone. Now you can imagine me having the spot that I am not able to upload my results, because in BSc you can have secondary person to receive OTP, but NSC doesn't give you that option. So such type of risk can come for filing of information which you can never foresee. So have risk mitigation for every department, every aspect in secretarial team, which is time bound with BSc and NSC. Because then that day I realized, okay, this is also a risk for me, that my mobile, if it's gone, display is gone or it's stolen, how do I upload my compliances if OTP is not received? So that also comes in a timely compliance matter. Yes, Suman.
Regulation 11 is about scheme of arrangement. So if the listed entity is entering into any scheme of arrangement, amalgamation, merger, reconstruction, reduction, etc., which is to be presented to a court or tribunal, so that should not violate any provisions of the law or any other requirements of the stock exchange. Regulation 12 is about payment of dividend, interest, redemption or repayment amount. So RBI has specified how these payments have to be done. The same is specified in Schedule 1. Schedule 1 specifies that we can use electronic clearing system, that is ECS, real-time gross settlement, that is RTGS, or National Electronic Funds Transfer, that is NEFT. So these three modes they have specified for payment of the dividend, interest, redemption or repayments amount. So this can be paid either directly by the listed entity or through its share transfer agent or through their depository.
For this compliance, the most important factor is we have dependency on the bank we choose. How cooperative they are, this activity depends on them. So whenever you choose your banker, check in the industry, which is the best banker for dividend payment. Go for that, because you have to live with that bank for next 7 years. And because at the time of dividend, they support you for their own interest, vested interest into it. After your year 2 and 3, they start supporting you fully, because it's for them, it's redundant. So ensure on that aspect. There are some banks which may give you pains, but there are also good banks in the industry which fully support you throughout 7 years.
Regulation 13 is about grievances redressal mechanism. So the listed entity shall ensure that whatever complaints are lodged with the company, that complaint should be solved within 21 calendar days from the date of receipt of the grievances. Also, the listed entity has to be registered on SCORES platform or any other platform as specified by the board from time to time. the entity has to submit a quarterly grievance report to the stock exchange within 21 days from the end of the quarter. That report specified how much complaints are pending at the beginning of the quarter, those complaints which are resolved during the quarter, those which are received during the quarter, and those still pending at the end of the quarter. So these all information we give in the grievance report. This report shall also be placed on quarterly basis before the board of directors of the entity. Regulation 14 is about fees and other charges. So the listed entity has to ensure that timely fees and other charges as applicable to them should be paid to the SEBI or the stock exchange within the timelines as specified. So this here it ends the chapter 3 of SEBI listing regulation.
Thank you, Suman. Very nicely
Yes.
and very concisely, elaborately you put it, and you presented very nicely in your simplistic flow language. It's wonderful. Very nice.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Let us
Yes,
look into
yes.
some of the questions which are there, which is not answered.
Yeah.
There is one query I can see here. If the company has not been appointed independent director as a CS, I have reminded the company to appoint the independent director, but the board is not interested. Then there is a penalty upon the CS of the company. Here again, I go back to the word of the Shraddha. It is the duty of the company secretary to apprise what are the consequences, what is going to happen if we don't comply with the things, etc. That very clearly he has to say. And he has to ensure that compliance is done. Compliance is anyway, it is a complaint that is one. It is not only the responsibility of the company secretary, it is equally the responsibility of the directors and the board as such. Another thing is, in this particular case also, very recently, there is a case is there in response, if I'm not mistaken, it is a Resonance Adventures Limited. That is the case, I think. The judgment came somewhere in April 23 only from the Jaipur ROC. There, the same thing has happened. Probably the independent director was not appointed for a period of something around 2 years or something like that. Thereafter, they appointed. But in this particular case, the company was actually penalized 3 lakh rupees. And also the managing director who was actually appointed as a person and looking after the day-to-day affair of the company was penalized about 1 lakh rupees. And the company secretary was also penalized 1 lakh rupees. There is no escape of escaping the penalty from here. You have to do your job. You have to convince your board. That is very important because they have to understand the importance of the compliance and they have to ensure. Because by virtue of the listing agreement, you have gone to the thing, it's a contractual obligation to abide by the listing agreement. Yes, Shraddha.
Yes. As rightly said by sir, it's our responsibility. You have to put the regulation requirement, you have to put the consequence, and you have to put the proposed solution. Only then management will consider that. You can propose that XYZ person can be our candidature, or you have to put that we can appoint 1, 2, 3 agencies to hire good candidates or screen the IDs. But this is required because if we give only the requirement and the repercussion, they may feel it as a burden. But if you support them, they will definitely listen to you at some point of time, and then you can get it done. So independent director having it on board is must. It is otherwise going to hamper you and company badly.
How to distinguish a good and the bad bank? What kind of complaint we should actually consider?
A good and bad bank.
Yeah. When you said no for
Okay.
dividend selection,
Yes.
I
Yes.
think with reference to that, someone is putting up.
Yes. So ensure that the bank supports you at the time of dividend in e-format. They should not be charging you anything. What banks get when they offer you this dividend facility? You are parking your crores of funds in their account for say 10-15 days. They are earning interest on it. And for next 7 days, at least 5 to 10% of your unpaid dividend is going to be there. So you should be commanding on the bankers that we want these services. first, as compliance, it should be paid in all the modes, that is DDs or warrants if you are still continuing, e-modes available at India. If you are a foreign remittances, you should be able to put that smoothly, the remittances to the foreigners. That is first, very immediate compliance for dividend payment. Unpaid dividend conversion to the account should be smooth. And you should be getting quarterly statements in Excel format, unpaid and paid reconciliation. Get in writing your agreement. They should be providing you till next 7 years, quarterly statements of paid, unpaid reconciliation. Then you should, at the end of the 7th year, how will you transfer? Get a clarity. Get Spock, one person of contact every time, because they keep changing their roles. Then you are lost. Whom to contact? Nobody responds you after the year of dividend payment. So you should always have meetings with your dividend bankers at least 6 months, once in 6 months. And they should take you to till the 7th year. How will you transfer your IPF funds and funds from unpaid account to your IPF account? So you should define this, put into your contract or whatever agreement you are making it. In industry, what I can recommend the good bankers are Axis Bank is good, SCB is good. I can recommend these to the currently in fraternity when I checked and when we experienced personally, these are good bankers to support you in dividend payments.
Yeah, you
Now,
rightly said. Basically, actually, a CS has to ensure that they discuss in advance with bankers
Yes.
that what is the timeline in the year, what kind of work will be required, what kind of service we are expecting, because then they have to acquaint their staff if any legal complication or if any legal implications they have what kind of document they require. Otherwise, you will go at the time and then they will ask their legal cell and then they will come. So you are you can't spend the time and waste the time. So you rightly mentioned that this listing of the things you want from the bank will really help to turn a bank into good bank, I will say.
Yes, yes, ma'am. And this activity has to start a month before your year end, because
Correct.
the screening of bankers takes at least 1 month, and then contracting them takes another month.
Yeah.
Some of we received through the mail and also need to consider. I think he's talking with the reference to regulation 13.3, I think. That is the submission of the quarterly statements. Whether there is a mechanism of investor grievance panel, the way it is there in the stock exchange and brokers. Whether there is a mechanism of investor grievance panel, the way it is there in the stock exchange and brokers.
Okay. If this can be further elaborated, we will be able to answer.
Lakshmikant, what is in your mind? We are not able to get what exactly is there. Can you speak? Lakshmikant? Are you there? Yeah.
You can go to another questions, Mr. Bala.
Okay. Thank you for the session. I have general doubt. When we refer to a SEBI circular and check the applicability of that circular, it says listed entities. Whenever the SEBI says listed entity, does it mean only equity listed entity or both equity and debt listed entities?
Yeah. So generally, circular specifies whether it is for the specified securities or date listed entities. Right, sir?
Yeah.
Then,
Because he is saying whenever the SEBI says listed entities, but normally they specify the circular, I believe. Isn't
Yes.
it? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. They don't just say listed. They generally say specified.
Yeah, that is
listed.
right.
Yeah.
Unpaid, undelivered dividends, if unpaid dividend to NRI, while payment is made subsequently, the benefit in terms of the conversion rate, etc., should be passed on to the NRI investor as a good corporate governance. Somebody is putting a suggestion.
okay.
Yeah.
That is all I think. I don't think there is any other queries are left over here in this query box.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dipti,
thank,
Okay.
Dipti, we have kept up your time. It is only 12:54.
yeah.
So you wanted to
Yeah.
have the time by 1 o'clock.
Before closing remark, I just want to have one more very important part here. As CS, you are taking lot of risks. As KMP, you are taking lot of risks. Directors with you are taking lot of risks. Ensure D&O policy. Of course, it's mandatory in the company, directors and officers company. But at CS, you have right to discuss these terms, get the terms approved or included for safeguarding you as KMP, MD CFO as KMP. Get that properly framed, safeguarding to you to other senior management in the company, because that plays a very important role nowadays in our lives.
Mr.
Yes.
Mahesh, further, thank you, Mr. Mahesh. Listed entity includes both. Yes, what we always say that listed entity include both. But he says, but it is debt listed only. In such case, refer definition of equity listed as per the Companies Act. Fine, thank you. We appreciate participants' active participation. Thanks. I think we answered all the questions. We thank all our panelists for today's webinar for joining us on our knowledge sharing journey on behalf of entire team of Mehta and Mehta. Thanks all the participants for your active participation. And next Saturday, another series will be there. Ms. Shraddha, thanks a lot. You are sharing all your personal experience so frankly and openly. That was really worth it, because it's worth millions when a person shares the experience. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you, Mr. Bala. Thank you, Ashwini. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
There is one
Thank
more
you so much for.
There is
Yeah.
one more message has come to Dipti.
Yeah.
Explore the possibilities for investors' welfare program like insurance policy health benefit. Anyway, we have taken it. We'll have a thought on over it. That's it. Thank you very much for the suggestions. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, thank you for all the suggestions. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this wonderful series, and all the best to continue this series further. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Shraddha, personally taking our time and spending the time and sharing your personal experiences with us. Special thanks to Suman for the wonderful
Yes,
presentation
Suman.
and also lucidly, very free flow in the simple English and putting the things together. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
to all the participants. Thanks to everybody. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the Indo-Pak match.
Yeah, may India win.
Yeah, we always wish that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
all.
Yeah.